Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan saying something very epic, and I never thought of this. He said Donald Trump might be the first actual president that we've all seen since JFK. Very bold statement. And after that, we're going to go through a bunch of things that Donald Trump has done and how monumental this presidency actually is. Let's start with this.
Examples, the Obama administration. The Hope and Change website had to be changed because there was a bunch of stuff in there about whistleblowers, protecting whistleblowers, which they didn't do at all. They were some of the worst. There was one of the worst administrations for whistleblowers.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I think what we have seen you and I are about the same age. What we have seen over our entire lifetime is that elections can change the jerseys, but they just swap. You know, who's in power and who's out of power. Well, the point is the system is in power, and the people in the roles to deliver the speeches change, but they're just basically trading off. And so I have the sense that you and I are now watching the outcome of the first genuine election since 1963.
Yeah, I've heard that argued, that 63, when they assassinated Kennedy, that was the last time we had a real president. It was an actual person who was trying to change things and put things in a position where he felt it was beneficial to the entire country.
Right, and it changes the feel of this in two ways. One of them is just unfamiliar to us because we've been watching theater for our entire lives and being told that it was the transfer of power.
Right.
And the other is that there's a lot of pent-up need for change because you've effectively had a cryptic power structure that never gets displaced, that has gotten so entrenched that rooting it out takes, frankly, an extraordinary, in every sense of the word, person like Donald Trump.
And an extraordinary team. Imagine if he's doing this. Imagine he's trying to do Doge without Elon.
Well, Heather and I took a lot of flack after the first assassination attempt of Trump, where we both perceived, I think we were actually perceiving this before, but the assassination attempt really kicked it off. We perceived that this was a different person than the first administration's Trump, that he had matured and he had been forged by all of the lawfare that had been deployed against him, and that it had been good for him. And in fact, I hate to say this because I have my doubts, of course, about the election of 2020, but I don't think what he is currently doing would have been possible if he had won and been inaugurated in 2020.
I think you're right. I think also the public wouldn't have supported it if they didn't see 4 years of the Biden administration, how crazy everything was.
Yep.
And then having gone through and watching the economy collapsed and watching, hurricanes coming, he's like, the most important thing for a hurricane is to get. Remember that?
I do now that you mentioned
it. Hurricanes get back.
Yeah.
It's very important. Everything's harder if you have
everything.
We lived in a movie.
Bad one.
We went through a crazy Coen Brothers kind of apocalyptic movie.
A poorly written, poorly directed movie.
Yeah.
With, an extraordinary budget and almost no need to pay attention to continuity.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was bad.
But at least we know. But I think that really woke a lot of people up, so-called red pilled a lot of people. I think that 4 years was important to get to where we are now.
It was essential.
Where most people are aware. Like, I think if you had gone to 2018 and had like a real conversation with most people in this country about the level of corruption, it would be a fraction of what they believe it to be now. Fraction.
Look, I know this to be true because, I tried to spark Unity 2020 and make it work.
And you were banned on Twitter.
I was.
Explain that to people, because one of the difference between the new Twitter, thank God for Elon Musk, and the old Twitter, you guys tried to put together a unity party where you would get the best representatives from the left and the right together for the good of the country. And like, that's dangerous.
It's dangerous. And they even lied about us. They said that we were engaged in inauthentic behavior. Basically, they accused us of using bots, which we didn't. So anyway, that's the world we were in 2020.
And headed to a more controlling world.
Right. And then in 2024, there's what I think of as a continuation of the same idea, right? There's, Rescue the Republic was what it looked like in 2024. And the point is that actually worked. That was an organic unity movement. And it took advantage of the fact that, Maha had already catalyzed as Kennedy and Trump had gotten together. And so
that was huge. That was a huge part of it because Kennedy had so many supporters. Even in many states, he was like bordering like 25, 30%, which is really crazy for an independent. And when he went over to Trump and then all those people like, oh my God, I have hope now. People who are injured, people who are very skeptical about certain pharmaceutical drugs that may have caused them harm, people who knew Bobby's history of being an environmental attorney and all the amazing work that he did then, those people got on board with the Trump administration, and I think that was huge. And now with Tulsi, I think that's huge as well. I think when Elon took over Doge, that was like the final Avenger. Like having that team together is such a unique team where you have prominent former Democrats, former 8-time Democrat for 8 years Democrat congresswoman who also served overseas in a medical unit twice. Like this is, you've got an extraordinary group of human beings.
Extraordinary group of human beings, all of whom I think took very real risks.
Oh, yeah.
At the very least with their reputations.
Well, Tulsi got put on a terrorist watch list.
Of course.
Which is crazy.
And it was a gamble. Each of these people, Kennedy, Musk, Tulsi, they knew that they were taking that risk. And it was clear that they were motivated by patriotism, that they actually, this is what a soldier does, right? You know that you're taking risks for something that matters more than you.
Yes.
And, to watch Elon do it, I think also was just remarkable because, of course, in Elon's position, he could have done, what Zuckerberg does, right? And he could have played it safe and kept his options open and done what he was told
right.
And then, apologized for it later, sort of, right? That wasn't what Musk did. He actually had the courage of his convictions. As many people have noted, his liberation of X set the stage for this election to even happen, that there wasn't anything you could put over on us that we couldn't unpack and crowdsource a better interpretation of on X. And even if most people weren't on X, it was enough that their narrative engine just didn't work.
Right.
So,
and if you look at a viral post on X, a viral post about something that's very important, like that has to do with USAID, you will see 7 million, 8 million views, 10 million views. There's nothing equivalent like that to mainstream media. There's nothing even close. Maybe a very viral YouTube clip. But these are every day, all day long. There's posts that have 7 million, 5 million, 3 million. And people are reposting them as well and sharing them and taking the information and posting them, without credit. There's a lot of that going on. So the actual amount of the information that gets out is far more than it would have ever happened without Elon taking over Twitter. It's probably changed the course of our civilization in a way that nothing else could have done.
Yes, and I think it's a little bit deceptive because its size doesn't quite explain its impact. But it's a little bit like the higher reasoning centers of the brain. Like there's a collective consciousness in which we figure out what we think is true. And it's been downstream of this amazing propaganda engine. Well, we're now learning to spot the propaganda and to understand what it really means and to figure out what it's cloaking. And a lot of that is happening on Twitter because it can. And it's actually forcing, Facebook to come around, right?
Right.
Which, of course, I usually say that 0 is a special number, meaning in a world with no social media platforms where you can speak freely and reason with others, there's no pressure to start doing that. But once you have one, any social media platform that doesn't allow you to speak freely is at a competitive disadvantage. And so, Elon freeing X actually liberated the others, and they're beginning to move in the right direction, which, frankly, is part of why this era just feels different.
Yeah. It's very interesting times. And then on top of that, we're being invaded by UFOs. So it's all happening.
I have not noticed that.
Man, very true. All that, very, very true. You know, and if you think about, and I don't know how much you know about JFK, but he was going in the same way, very much like I just saw an article the other day that was talking about Doge and Trump and, you know, calling them a wrecking ball. You know, JFK was very much going at things like a wrecking ball himself, and he was going at everybody. It was like, there was just no holds bars. He's like, I'm going to talk about the CIA. I'm going to dismiss these people. I'm not going to support this country. You know, like he was really going at it. And at the same time, he wanted like good relations with Russia. Like it was very interesting, all the stuff he was doing. He was trying to make them, it was like he was talking about them being hurt and wounded, and he wanted to heal that wound. And he's like, you know, it was so many. And then on top of it, I mean, tinfoil Speedo, the whole talk about secret societies and secret oaths. And obviously I'm going to listen to that now. I'm just completely derailing this podcast so I can listen to that, because how do you not? I think I even have it on a playlist. I think it's a playlist on this channel that only has one thing on it. There it is. Of course we're going to wait. Is this even the one? Let's see here, because that one is just, everybody needs to listen to that. What I usually do is I pull up the video. Let's get this off the screen. I pull up the video. Okay. This is how you do research, guys. And then you go like this, Control F, and then you go secret, nothing for secret. And then you go society, secret society. Is there anything? Nothing there. So that's not the video. It has to be a different video. Right? So let's move on. And this has to be it. But we got to go to the secret society part. I'm just not going to play the whole thing for you guys. It's a 20-minute speech. It's on a playlist that I have on this channel that has no title. It's just a playlist that says no title. And I made sure it was public because I thought everybody should hear it. Society, secret. No, is this it? Come on. It says it 4 different times. Has to be one of them. You know? Secret societies, secret oaths. Is this even the one? Let's just go here. Let's just search for it. JFK, secret societies, secret society speech. Let's go. Let's find it. Beautiful. There it is.
But I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In time of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. In times of clear and present danger, the courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Today,
I was already listening to it, of course, because I listen to it all the time, because I think it's the craziest thing a president's ever said. So I have it here. Secrets. Opposed to secret society. Secret oaths. So it's at 6 minutes. Let's pull it back. If you do find this video, okay, just so I can give you a little timestamp here, you can go right to like 2 minutes. It's called JFK. Actually, I can pull it up on the screen. There it is. There it is. JFK Secret Society speech, long version. You can go right to 2 minutes and listen to about 10, up until 10 minutes, and you'll find it.
they suggest that this would be more naturally worded, the president versus the press, but those are not my sentiments tonight. It is true, however, that when a well-known diplomat from another country demanded recently that our State Department repudiate certain newspaper attacks on his colleagues, it was unnecessary for us to reply that this administration was not responsible for the press, for the press had already made it clear that that it was not responsible for this administration. Nevertheless, my purpose here tonight is not to deliver the usual assault on the so-called one-party press. On the contrary, in recent months, I have rarely heard any complaints about political bias in the press, except from a few Republicans. Nor is it my purpose tonight to discuss or defend the televising of presidential press conferences. I think it is highly beneficial to have some 20 million Americans regularly sit in on these conferences to observe, if I may say so, the incisive, the intelligent, and the courteous qualities displayed by your Washington correspondents. Nor, finally, are these remarks intended to examine the proper degree of privacy which the press should allow to any president and his family. If, in the last few months, your White House reporters and photographers have been attending church services with regularity, that has surely done them no harm. On the other hand, I realize that your staff and wire service photographers may be complaining that they do not enjoy the same green privileges, the local golf courses, which they once did. It is true that my predecessor did not object, as I do, to pictures of one's golfing skill in action, but neither, on the other hand, did he ever be a Secret Service man. My topic tonight is a more sober one, of concern to publishers as well as editors. I want to talk about our common responsibilities in the face of a common danger. The events of recent weeks may have helped to illuminate that challenge for some, but the dimensions of its threat have loomed large on the horizon for many years. Whatever our hopes may be for the future, for reducing this threat or living with it, there is no escaping either the gravity or the totality of its challenge to our survival and to our security. A challenge that confronts us in unaccustomed ways in every sphere of human activity. This deadly challenge imposes upon our society two requirements of direct concern, both to the press and to the president. Two requirements that may seem almost contradictory in tone, but which must be reconciled and fulfilled if we are to meet this national peril. I refer first to the need for far greater public information, and second, to the need for far greater official secrecy. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. But I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In time of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. In times of clear and present danger, the courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent. It requires a change in outlook, a change in tactics, a change in missions by the government, by the people, by every businessman or labor leader, and by every newspaper. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match. Nevertheless, every democracy recognizes the necessary restraints.
Man, I let that run a little long. I'm sorry. I know you're probably like, man, why'd you stop? I stopped right at 11:11. If you want to pick it back up, actually, coincidentally, I will throw this on that playlist that I'm talking about. I got a playlist. It's just called No Title, and you can go listen to it there. I don't think I benefit from that or anything. I just like to keep those speeches handy because why not? I should have played this on President's Day. That's what I should have done. Man, how about that? Secret society, secret oaths. Everything he was saying sounds so familiar. Wow. You know, at that time, the World Economic Forum, I don't think it was formed yet. I think Klaus Schwab was still Henry Kissinger's mentee, and they were in the Bilderberg Group. I think that's where things were at that time. And then years after this, Klaus Schwab then established it, and it was called like the European Management Forum or something like that. And then he changed it to the World Economic Forum when he realized he wanted a little more than Europe involved. JFK, man, I do see a lot in Trump. A lot of JFK in Trump in terms of what he's doing. It's very out in the open. I have to see if I can remember this guy's name. Lyman Lemonster? Lemonster JFK. Let's see if that brings up any names. It's not. It did bring up the name. Oh man, I've showed this guy before. I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble showing him again. But this dude is the one that brought JFK. Everybody was signed off on this thing, this Northwoods thing, and he was the one that brought the JFK. JFK said no. JFK fired the guy, right? And then JFK passed away, sadly, and then this guy got reinstated. You know, you see Samantha Power and people like that are popping up on the scene, and those are the faces of the deep state. But back then, this guy was the face of the deep state. Can I scroll down? Did I make it so small I can't scroll down? Oh man, can I zoom in? Can I zoom in more? Oh, I can't move the screen though. Oh, I can. Can I move it more? Oh, I did not notice that pin. That is kind of what I was getting at. Can I move it to his hand? Can I move down again? Zoom in. Oh, I can't zoom in more. Oh, I wish I could. I'm so sorry, guys. You have no idea. So on his hand, oh, it's right there. Why won't it let me go down more? On his hand, there is a ring. And that ring is has the same symbol that I just showed you. And I just found it so interesting that he was wearing that ring. But anyway, that's just I told you I was going to start treating these podcasts like I was live or something, but it was just a very interesting guy. Very, very interesting guy in regards to that whole thing. But getting back to Trump, just thinking about what Trump has done, talking about him being something like the first real president since JFK, I think that's really true. But it also brings up the fact of, then what were the other ones? Was it all just theater? And obviously, I would expect to hear a resounding yes from everybody. We don't come here with tinfoil Speedos on to not see the theater, right? We all see it. It's just interesting as soon as Trump comes, and getting back to what they said about Trump not being able to do what he's done if it wasn't for what happened 2020 to 2024. That little break, that blip, that built us up in regards to how they put it, being able to see the craziness of Biden. It also built him up. It built him up and the nation up at the same time, because he was going through the fire, right? He was walking through the fire. He was getting the lawfare. He was getting the smears. He was getting his kids threatened with jail, his youngest son, wife debanked, and all of this stuff was happening to him. And it was just a constant barrage. They're like, give us hundreds of millions of dollars. You're a convicted felon. You're going in for a mugshot. All this stuff really put him through the fire. And I think it extinguished any chance of him leaning into the establishment. He got hit with everything to the point where he was just, it was almost like God was like, Donald, you don't hate the establishment enough. And he was like, what do you mean? God's like, oh, you don't know what I mean. Oh, you don't hate them enough. I'll show you. Hold on. And he just gave him everything. You're getting everything. You're getting mugshots. You're getting everything possible that they can possibly do to you. Everything but death. But I'm going to bring you close to that too. And by the time that was done, there was no establishment left in him. Yeah, and I know some people are going to be like, yeah, bro, 2 wings of the same bird, bro. You don't see it, bro. I think Brett Weinstein talks about this in the podcast. He goes, there's some people, and they were talking about, like 2020 times. There's some people who don't believe anything. And with that, when everything happened with 2020, they said, see, I was right. But it's like, you weren't right. You're actually just lucky. When you just don't believe anything, you're not actually doing any critical thinking. You just get lucky from time to time. And many times you're wrong, but many times you're right. And my opinion, I think if you're one of those people in regards to Trump, and again, I admit my bias at the same time. I know I'm very biased. I like him as a president. I think he's the greatest of our time. I will say, if you're thinking that about Trump, I think you're wrong. But that's just me. Let's get into this whole thing. But like I was saying, that whole thing couldn't have happened. What's happening now couldn't have happened without 2020 to 2024. It primed everybody, including him, right? Guys, sorry to interrupt the video. You know I don't like to do that, but I just had to let you know that there is another channel that I have. Okay, we have 255 videos, and this is where we break away from the Joe Rogan content. We are covering breaking news. We are covering just things that are going on, culture war stuff, woke nonsense, all sorts of stuff like that. So for those of you who have been asking, hey, what's with the big focus on Joe Rogan? Here it is. This is where we break away from the Joe Rogan content. Coach Colin Media, link in the description. Let's get back to the video. And I'm going to play this clip of just things that Trump has done. John Oliver is saying this like it's a bad thing. I love when I find things where I'm like, oh, this is a perfect thing to play. And I don't realize. I'm like, oh, John Oliver hates him. Oh, okay, I didn't realize. He's saying all these good things, but he doesn't mean them in a good way. Listen to this. Cuts off there because it's only 43 seconds. But what it primed Canada to do was get beaten ridiculously. 3 players got beat up within seconds of the game starting, and then they lost terribly on their own turf. That is actually what it prompted Canada to do. Those tariffs are no joke, ladies and gentlemen. Those tariffs knock the socks off a nation. You know what I mean? But all those things, they're all good things. They're all great things. It was just funny. I'm like, oh, those are all good things. I'm going to play that for, everybody when I'm doing this whole thing. And then I'm like, oh, John Oliver thinks all those are bad things. Oh, this is exactly what everybody voted for. That's what everyone voted for. It's so weird when people say, you see what he just did? He just got Canada and Mexico to up the border protection. 10,000 troops, a border czar in Canada. Oh, is this what you wanted? Yeah, that's what everybody wanted. What? He just brought in $1 trillion in investments. Is this really what you wanted? Like, yeah. What? Huh? What? You sure? Hey, do you know what you're saying? Do you know the words that you're using? Is this your first day with English? Yes. This is what everybody wanted. I think you're using English wrong. You're saying it one way, but the things you're saying are magnificent. Very interesting stuff. Let's get into Trump talking a little bit about, and this is where I see the JFK comparison, because this is basically the federal government that he owns, and he does not have to fix, and he could just benefit from. But instead, he's doing things like this. And on top of that, he could have got that pretty blonde girl he hired to read this off. But he's like, nah, everybody come to Mar-a-Lago, come to my house. Come on, let's all sit down. It'll be nice. It's beautiful place. Come down to a beautiful place. I'm going to tell you about all of the nonsense the federal government's been doing. Yes, I'm the head of the federal government again, but I'm going to show you some serious nonsense that they've been up to. And he just does this.
Where's the money being spent, right? Let's go into that for just a second. $520 million for a consultant on the environment. It's called Environmental, Social, and Governance. Investments in Africa and mobilize private sector resources. $520 million. Somebody got $520 million for an environmental, sounds like an environmental study. I've always been one that paid a lot of money for my environmental studies, but I paid like $50,000, not $520 million. $520 million for ESG. $25 million to promote biodiversity, conservation, and promote licit livelihoods by developing socially responsible behavior in the country of Colombia. Well, it's nice, $25 million going to Colombia for something that nobody ever heard of. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. $40 million. $42 million for Johns Hopkins, great place, to research and drive social and behavior change in Uganda. $42 million. What about us? What about social change in our country? $70 million for a center at Purdue to research university-sourced, evidence-based solutions to developmental challenges. I mean, these are massive numbers on things that nobody ever heard about. $10 million for Mozambique voluntary medical male circumcisions. $10 million for circumcisions in another country. $9.7 million for UC Berkeley to develop a cohort of Cambodian youth with enterprise-driven skills. In other words, let's teach them something about enterprise. What about our people? Can't we teach them about enterprise? $2.3 million for strengthening independent voices in Cambodia. $32 million to the Prague Civil Society Center, which is a very liberal group of people. Wonder how much of that money came back to the people that approved it.
How much of that, all these liberals who are ignoring all this stuff that's happening, all this waste that's being, they're constantly talking about being allies to black people and Asians and LGB and all these people and dudes who wear cat ears and dog masks and all this nonsense. What if all this money went to them? What if it was, money going to the inner city of Chicago, to the hoods, to the projects, to clean it up, to put, I don't know, some kind of free therapy service to analyze how many young men in Chicago and New York and the inner cities have PTSD, to the vet. You know what I mean? This is crazy.
$14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, including $22 million for inclusive and participatory political process in Moldova, and $21 million for voter turnout in India. Well, why are we giving $21 million to India? They got a lot of money. They're one of the highest taxing countries in the world in terms of us. We can hardly get in there because their tariffs are so high. I have a lot of respect for India. I have a lot of respect for the Prime Minister. He just left, as you know, 2 days ago. But we're giving $21 million for voter turnout. It's voter turnout in India. What about, voter turnout here? Oh, we've done that, I guess. We did $500 million, didn't we? It's called the lockboxes. $20 million for fiscal federalism in Nepal. Listen to these numbers. This is all fraud. $19 million for biodiversity conservation in Nepal. $1.5 million for voter confidence. We want to give them confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $2.5 million for inclusive democracies in South Africa. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well. They're doing a lot better than we do in the schools, aren't they? $2 million to develop sustainable recycling models to increase socioeconomic cohesion among marginalized communities in Kosovo and Eskali and in Egypt. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. I could, by the way, I could read this all day long. I could go on all day long, and you'll see hundreds of billions of dollars. Where's
someone gave him 4 pages of fraud to read off? What? Why are there so many pages? Oh, each one is just a line. He has 4 pages. That's crazy. But again, just going back to why I showed you this, what does JFK say in that speech that we heard? We have to admit our mistake. Don't hide your mistakes. Don't hide. He didn't want his administration to hide their mistakes at all. And he's not hiding it. This is, now that he's stepped in, these are his mistakes to clean up. And he could have easily just not talked about this, but instead he's talking about it. He's being fully transparent about it. He could have just said there's a lot of waste and we're going to clean it up. He doesn't have to start doing this. Have Doge have a Twitter page where they're releasing things all the time and a website where they're releasing things all the time. He doesn't have to do anything like this. This is crazy. He doesn't have to have Elon Musk saying this about the federal government.
The problem is that the American taxpayers have been getting a terrible deal because look at the last administration. Can any reasonable person say that the last administration was either competent or caring?
But they lied to us and said that Joe didn't have a cognitive decline.
They fully lied.
They said the borders were closed. They said that the borders were secure. They said that,
Right.
you know, they said Obamacare would save.
They flat out lied.
They flat
That's
out lied.
insane. And the problem is that
You know what I mean? You don't have to do stuff like this when you're a president. But he's making sure to do things like this. He's making sure to admit, because at the end of the day, the whole world sees this. And yes, they see him cleaning it up. But also, it does, in a sense, it does look bad. The only good part of all this is that he's cleaning it up with such veracity, so quickly, you know?
するコメントは何かありますか?
Is Time Magazine still in business? I didn't even know that.
まだタイムマガジンは廃刊じゃないんですか?
Elon is doing a great job. He's finding tremendous fraud and corruption and waste. You see it with the USAID, but you're going to see it even more so with other agencies and other parts of government. He's got a staff that's fantastic. He's wanted to be able to do this for a long time, and everybody else knew it was existent, but I think never so much when you look at USAID. That's a fraud. The whole thing is a fraud. Very little being put to good use. Every single line that I look at in terms of events and transactions is either corrupt or ridiculous. And we're going to be doing that throughout government, and I think we're going to be very close to balancing budgets for the first time in many years. I think we're going to be very close to, in addition to monies coming in from tariffs, et cetera, et cetera. But he's doing a very good job. I'm very happy with it.
Will you put Elon Musk up on the podium for us to ask him some questions, Mr. President, at any point? Will you put Elon Musk up on the...
Put him up on the podium. You okay? I would love to know how Trump answered that. Right, like, next question. Next question. Where are you from? Why are you here? You're from the UK? Can't you get arrested for asking a question like that? I should tell the police force in the UK what you just said. Throw you in jail. I only say that because that's like a snide way of being like, you're gonna put him on the podium and you're gonna have him ask if you like. That's that whole co-president thing that they're getting at there. That's at least how I read that. That's nonsense. Yeah, this is him talking about Zelensky opening up. I'm telling you, man, we haven't seen anything like this, you know? And I so understand why people can take the whole, I don't know, for lack of a better term, I don't like the term when people use it because I think it's just as dismissive as conspiracy theorists, but controlled opposition. I so see why people feel that way when they see all of this because you've never seen anything else. You know? You never seen anything else. It's like if you were in a relationship with some lady, you know, or some guy, but you're past 10 relationships. They've just cheated on you and lied to you. And then you have this good person and they're like, hey, you know, it's going to the store. I'm coming right back. You want anything? You're looking kind of down. And they're doing all this nice stuff. And you're just like, man, they're just lying. I know they are. And it's like, of course, that's what you think. That's all you know. That's all you've ever seen the whole time. You know? They're like, I'm just going out with my friend Elon. We're just going to clean up some waste, some abuse, and some fraud. Do you want anything? We're going to come back with like $100 billion. And you're like, yeah, sure you are. I bet you're going to use it to enrich yourself. It's like, yeah, of course. You don't know anything else. Of course. Yeah, here he is talking about Zelensky.
We're hearing that Russia wants to force Ukraine to hold new elections in order to sign any kind of a peace deal. Is that something that the U.S. would ever support?
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have martial law, or essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating, and where a country has been blown to smithereens. You got most of the cities are laying on their sides. The buildings are collapsed. It looks like a massive demolition site. The whole, I mean, so many of the cities. I mean, they haven't done it in Kiev because I guess they don't want to shoot too many rockets in there. They've done it 20%, but they haven't done it 100%. If they wanted to do it 100%, it would probably happen very quickly. But you have cities that are absolutely decimated. And yeah, I would say that, you know, when they want a seat at the table, you could say the people have to wouldn't the people of Ukraine have to say, like, you know, it's been a long time since we've had an election? That's not a Russia thing. That's something coming from me and coming from many other countries also.
That's amazing. I'm telling you, man, I'm just going through the things that he's doing, how transparent he's being, the things that he's speaking up about. Think about the narrative that's been put forth about Ukraine. And now this guy's just like, yeah, they got martial law in the streets and they haven't had an election. And I don't even know if the people like this guy. And where's all the money? Gave this guy like $250 billion. What's going on here? He's like, forget about Putin. I'm saying it. I'm saying it right now. What we doing? What we doing here? Is this guy gonna have an election or not? He's fine. There's peace now. I bet they have an election and that guy's gone. Gone. I'll bet money on it. They're trying to push that back for as long as they can. Man. And also, again, just to speak up for President Trump, how incredible is it that he has somebody named Big Balls who worked for Doge, got let go, came back, and now has an important role in the State Department. What? Who else but Trump? You haven't seen anything like this. Not even JFK had someone named Big Balls in his State Department. Look at that. He's wearing a suit jacket, wearing shorts underneath. Okay? An illustrious man. That's the State Department right there. Okay? I can't believe it's true. I've looked up at least 15 posts about this whole State Department thing. No community notes, nothing. I'm like, this is just real? That's what's happening? That's how we're doing it? Sounds good to me. This is President Trump right now, just talking about, this happened just today. Anything you see in these clips that looks like this with this background right now, it's Mar-a-Lago. This happened just today. This is him talking a little bit about what's happening with Social Security.
People that live to 100 to 109, 4,734,000. Wow, that's a lot.
And right now, I just to give you a little background, he's talking about the ages of people who are collecting social insurance currently. Okay? The ages and how many of them there are.
That means over 100 years old. There are 4 million people. I don't know too many. I know people that are doing great in their 90s, but not too many people over 100. But over 120, from 120 years old, people that are 120 years old up to 129, 3,472,000 people. Wow. You know, that can't possibly be, because the record is like, I think it's one person, a woman, lived to 127, but they have 3,472. Okay, but now we're going really in. People from 130 years old to 139-year-old, 3,936,000. Wow. I wonder if people are getting paid with all this. I mean, are these checks? And that's what we're checking right now. People from 140 years old to 149 years old, 3,542,000, 140 years old and beyond. Now we're really going, because we're looking to break the record by 25 years. People from 150 years old to 159 years old, 1,345,000. These are in the, by the way, these are in the computer files. This is what they do well. They're super. I asked Elon, who are these Doge people? He said they're super brilliant computer people and they love the country. It's simple. Wait a minute. People from 160 years old to 169 years, 121,000. So 160-year-old people. 170 to 179,000, 6,087.
Let me just save you guys the time. It goes up to 360 years old. There's one person, apparently, in their database who's collecting Social Security, and they are 360 years old. Oh, my God. But again, it really, I don't think, again, you haven't seen anything like this. People get used to things pretty easily. Maybe they don't see the weight of things, but for him to admit that there's fraud and waste and all of this stuff, and to show it to the people, show it to the world, you know trust is going to be damaged even more. You know that the rest of the world, and although they have their fraud and everything, they have, it's the same in every government, I'm sure. Maybe El Salvador might be a little different because that guy's been cleaning the house, but everybody has their stuff, but to show it to all these people and to show what a mess it all is, and then to say, and I'm going to clean it. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to do that. I mean, in your own life, how many times have you had to admit you're wrong about something or admit that you messed something up badly? And then you have to like pick yourself up and clean it all up. And, the trust isn't repaired until you clean it up. It's appreciated that you're honest, but your mistake isn't fixed until you fix it, right? And that's what he's doing right now. And it's pretty crazy to do, I'm going to be honest. Then another thing that's like JFK, quite honestly, this is where he was talking about the External Tax Revenue Agency. For far too long, we have relied on taxing our great people using the IRS, through soft and pathetically weak trade agreements. The American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. It is time for that to change. I am announcing that I will create the External Tax Revenue Service to collect tariffs, duties, and all revenue that comes from foreign sources. We will begin charging those that make money off of us with trade, and they will start paying, finally, their fair share. January 20th, 2025 will be the birth of the External Revenue Service. Make America great again. Just wild things that he's willing to do, And then on top of that, it's like tomorrow, because it's the 18th right now, so the 19th, that's a Wednesday, I believe. Is it Tuesday today? Man, my days blur together. I was up until like 5 a.m. doing videos. And then I woke up at like 8:30 because I had an appointment. And I've just been up, like all drowsy and weird. I drink like 3 cups of coffee. It's not good. I'm not bragging or anything. I've actually been wrecking my health for about the past 72 hours. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm destroying myself. No. I'm not bragging about it. It's not good to do. But just to say, the layoffs, they're starting tomorrow at the IRS. How crazy is this? How crazy is this? This is the craziest part. This is one of the craziest things, that he's actually doing this. And you have to remember, and this is just more about that, finds that around 90% of IRS audits under Biden's weaponized IRS went after people making less than $400,000 per year. Remember when they told you it was billionaires? They lied. They always lie. Most billionaires are Democrats. That's really true. Trump says he will be rethinking what to do with the additional 88,000 agents. Obviously, they should be auditing politicians. Obviously, that's what they should be sent to do, 100%. Is there an argument there? That's all they should be doing, of course. Yeah, it's just it's wild what he's doing. Yeah, and just to see this, I don't know this person, but they're saying if Doge has uncovered all this fraud and tax dollars, then why in the hell would American people send another penny to the U.S. government? We control the flow of money. Just the fact that he's doing something that would spark that line of thought is just so tremendous, because that's not beneficial to him. That's not a beneficial thing for him to spark in people's minds, right? Why would he want that? You know what I mean? Like this is the whole thing where you've never seen a president, you've never seen somebody who's really trying to make things better. I mean, Barack Obama was the clearest, Biden's there too, but Barack Obama was such a clear, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Oh, black people, I'm going to do this, do that. Minorities, I'm going to do this, do that. He didn't do anything for anybody. Nothing for anybody. And then Trump, they're like, oh, he's racist, he's misogynist, he's this, he's that. He's trying to do everything for every American person. It's crazy. He's even trying to liberate Canada. And Canada needs it so bad. Oh my gosh. And then this, Kash Patel. Kash Patel is going to be confirmed by Thursday. He's already advanced. Let me show you guys a little bit of this. Actually, is it here? Let me see if I have it here. Yeah, there you go. The U.S. Senate just voted to advance Kash Patel for a full Senate confirmation vote. Leader John Thune will file the closure on Cash, which means he will likely be confirmed as the next director of the FBI Thursday. Let's go. That's from Charlie Kirk there. Trump putting this guy in that position, he doesn't have to do that. I don't know if you know about Kash Patel. Kash Patel wants to release the Epstein list right away. That's what he wants to do. He really wants to get that done. You know what I mean? Trump could easily just say, where's the list? I'm the president. You're the director? Oh, the director resigned. Okay, so where's the list? Okay, here's the list. Fantastic. I own these people on this list now. That's it. He could easily do that. But instead, he's putting some guy in power who actually wants to release the list. You know?
I understand you made some statements about the Jeffrey Epstein flight logs.
Oh yeah, this guy's like, I would like to not have them released. Yeah, of course you wouldn't, buddy.
FBI director in this country, Kash Patel, he just got moved forward. When does this happen?
We'll vote on him on Thursday, and all the tricks that the Democrats have been playing, they're going to have to start calling Kash Patel Director Patel by Thursday evening. He'll be sworn in, and he'll be able to go in there and reform the FBI and get it working on mission focus and not for a Democrat party.
Yeah, but it's a lot of work at the FBI. And then the other big news was this, Trump saying all the U.S. attorneys from the Biden era are going to be ousted as well. So some major changes coming to DOJ,
Right.
to FBI. It's amazing to watch. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, good to see you.
These are the type of changes that JFK wanted to do that he never got to do. You know, speaking of JFK, RFK, everything that he has to say about his new position, he hit the ground running as well. Let's just
Last Thursday, President Trump signed an executive order to establish the Maha Commission to study what has caused the precipitous decline in American health over the past 2 generations. So we will convene representatives of all viewpoints to study the causes for the drastic rise in crime.
So I wanna play this clip here because this quote of what he says speaks to what I'm talking about in regards to transparency and all the radical change that Trump's bringing about.
We will remove conflicts of interest from the committees and research partners whenever possible, or balance them with other stakeholders. We will shut the revolving door to reestablish public trust. We will make our data and our policy process so transparent that people won't even have to file a FOIA request. We will remove conflicts of interest.
I mean, this guy's walking straight in JFK's footsteps, but so is Trump. I mean, you have to understand, let's just break it down, right? Because you're hearing a lot of things. All of what he's doing, he puts Tulsi in the position she's in. He's taking a swipe at the deep state. But let's just be clear. The agencies, the bureaus, that's who he's taking a swipe at when he puts her in that position. RFK, he's taking a swipe at pharmaceutical companies. Something that you just don't do. Ask Elizabeth Warren. Ask Bernie Sanders. Then he puts Elon. Elon's going after the corruption. That's everybody. Kash Patel, again, the elites who are on that list. Then he has J.D. Vance, who's now this voice for America throughout the world. He's just traveling to Europe and this place and that place, and he's speaking about American values, and he's letting people know in the most polite way possible, if your values don't line up with America, then we probably don't need a relationship with you. It's everything he's doing. Stopping these wars. That's a swipe at the defense contractors. Taking a swipe at the deep state, intelligence. Taking a swipe at pharmaceutical. He's just throwing middle fingers up at everything right now. We've never seen anything like this. And I get it. We're so used to it because we see Trump on the TV all the time for years now. I mean, even before that, for like a decade. But this is not usual. And he did not have to do any of this. This is crazy. I should have released this episode on President's Day. I don't know what I was thinking. But man, it's wild to see. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with all this. I hope he's okay. Yeah. I hope his security's all good. You know, he's definitely a different person now. He's definitely, him versus JFK. It's like, I don't say versus in the sense of competition, but just, what they're like, what they're doing, right? Or what one did and what one's doing right now. It's tremendous. It's tremendous to see, So I just wanted to bring you guys all through that really quick. We're at an hour here. But, as I start going live and stuff, there's going to be longer things. So I figured I'd do something like that right now. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, get ready for radical change. Not just with Trump on this channel. And I'm out.